Well, hello, and welcome to episode 199 of Drink the Movies. I'm Brian here, as always, with Michaela. And Michaela, we are into a new year now. We're only a couple weeks out from Oscars, so let's go ahead and get the watch along started. And this week, let's watch Zoolander.
Let's watch Zoolander. I love it. I love the idea. Look, it's been a long year. 2024 was a long year. I feel like we have to reset. The Golden
Hmm.
Globes were earlier this week, so that means for anybody who's been living under a rock and not listening to us for the last 4 years, 5 years almost now, I guess. We're knee deep in Oscar preparations. So there's a lot of heavy stuff that's happening, a lot of heavy subjects that we're going to be diving into,
Yeah.
talking about. So why not watch one of the great comedies of our generation that could arguably be called Zoolander?
That could arguably be called Zoolander. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Got to take a break from that 10 hours of depressing Oscar documentaries to have something a little bit lighthearted today. And this one's been on the list for a long time because it has maybe one of the most famous, drink like lines
Right,
in a movie, I think for sure.
100%.
At least from our lifetime for sure. So let's do that. Michaela, let's talk about Zoolander. But before we do that, we're going to have to go and make up that cocktail, on our way to our freak gasoline fight accident. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to mix up this week's drink.
So Brian, if you scour the internet for Zoolander quotes, 90% of them are going to talk about this drink.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not 90%, like 50% are going to talk about this drink. The other 50 are going to be all of the other amazing like one-liners or quotes that I didn't even realize came from this movie because it has been a while since I'd seen it. So when we went out to try and recreate the orange mocha frappuccino, I had thoughts on how like we could create our own version. It's dry January, so it was important that we, tried to figure out something that would work for those who wanted alcohol versus those who didn't. And I don't even remember who found this one. Was it you or me? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, this one it comes from Corner Coffee Store. It's the one we're taking, kind of our inspiration from here. And we'll share their recipe and kind of how we doctored it up to meet the drink the movies, quotient here of having appropriate amounts of alcohol in it. But you look at orange mocha frappuccino recipes. There's like 1,000 of them online, and they all pay homage to that crazy scene. Dealing with your rival Hansel coming into town. You got you're sad and depressed. So what's the only way to go about getting over that? It's to go and have an orange mocha frappuccino with your male model friends. So
And then
Michaela,
set them all on fire.
well, they set themselves on fire. Come
I
on.
mean,
Come on, come on.
okay.
So I didn't know if you're going to start with that or if you're going to start singing Jitterbug, which also famously plays during that. We might get lost in the lines of this, but let's make this cocktail first. And first thing you're going to need to do, Michaela, is you're going to need some coffee ice cubes. So, and the recipe here it calls for 2 cups of coffee ice cubes, or you can use regular ice cubes and just some coffee if you don't want to go through the hassle of making coffee ice cubes. I did, so I made myself 1 cup of coffee ice cubes and 1 cup of Kahlua ice cubes. Now, the Kahlua didn't really freeze all the way through. I thought that it might. It's only about 20% alcohol, Kahlua, so I thought that it might freeze solid, and it might have if I would have left it in the freezer for a couple more days. I was in there for about 36 hours. It got kind of syrupy, but didn't freeze solid, so I just went with my 1 cup of coffee ice cubes and my 1 cup roughly of my very, very cold Kahlua.
Very, very cold Kahlua. Oh, nice. Okay, so you're going to take your coffee ice cubes. You're going to add them to your blender. Okay. Then you're going to take half a cup, which sounds like a lot, but trust the process of chocolate chips. And you're going to blend that until
It
really,
is a
really
lot, on
smooth.
a side note.
It is a lot. It seems like a lot. I don't even think I put half a cup of chocolate chips in my chocolate chip cookies. But then you're going to pour in half of an orange, zested and juiced. Now, we substituted that with 1.5 ounces of orange liqueur, which is Cointreau or something cheaper than that if you're into something cheaper than that. But I had Cointreau, so that's what I used. Then you're going to add a tablespoon of chocolate syrup, 3/4 of a cup of milk or chocolate milk. If you're going to do this, I highly recommend Promised Land Dairy has this dark midnight chocolate milk that is
Oh.
amazing. It's so good. It's very dark chocolate, which I think really pairs very nicely with the orange.
Hmm.
And to be honest, half a cup of chocolate chips is a lot of semi-sweet chocolate. So I wanted to darken it a little bit. So that's 3/4 cup of that, 1/4 cup of your half and half. And then, have some whipped cream on the side. Now you're going to pour all of the rest of these ingredients and you're going to blend until you get the desired consistency.
Hmm.
Now that could take between 1 to 4 minutes, depending on if you have like a good mixer or not. This makes 2 glasses and you can top it with whipped cream. Yeah, it's very good. It's very chocolatey, and it's got that kind of the consistency with the chopped up chips. It's kind of like when
Mm-hmm.
Starbucks had their coffee bit. They used to have like a coffee brownie frappuccino. Maybe they still do, but it used to be when I worked there a billion years ago. It used to be only in the summer, and it was kind of it was very reminiscent to me of that.
Okay, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you blend this and you put it into a glass, top it with some whipped cream, and you can grate a little bit of that orange zest over top if you want. It looks nice. You get a little bit of hit of that orange. Then you drink and enjoy, and then you go to sleep because this thing is about 15,000 calories, I think for sure. It is real delicious. I have to say, this recipe makes two. So there you go. So at least you're only going to be cutting that in half there. But yeah, this is pretty good. And we wanted to, incorporate that orange liqueur into there to replace the orange juice. I have to say, I used about a 1.5 ounces of triple sec. I also used a Cointreau, Michaela.
Mm.
I have to say that the orange didn't come through like super well in mine, so I might supplement a little bit of orange juice in with that triple sec as well, there to get that orange flavor dialed up a little bit more. But this was really good. I mean, it was really chocolatey. It was kind of a nuisance to put together. That's a lot of things you have to track down and do. If you're using the dark chocolate milk that Michaela recommended. You could probably skip the chocolate chips there if you wanted to. It's going to be plenty chocolatey enough, or lighten up on the chocolate syrup. Kind of dealer's choice there on any of these ingredients. If you want to enhance or subtract any of those, you're still going to get in the ballpark of something really delicious. But this was good. It was a chocolate milkshake with Kahlua and triple sec in it. I do like this too because if you like other flavors in your coffee, uh, you know, go crazy, right? Use some cherry hearing if you want to have like a cherry chocolate kind of a thing. You could use some raspberry liqueur if you wanted to go that route. I really like banana, weirdly, flavors and all things. So like a banana coffee drink would be really good. So any kind of like fruit-based liqueur that you wanted to add to this to your like coffee chocolate milkshake kind of a thing, you could definitely do that. And then obviously omit the Kahlua and the triple sec, and you just have straight up just an orange mocha frappuccino, which is probably what you're going to do, if you're, busy doing like sit-ups on your way to fill up the Jeep with the
Right.
boys. So,
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, it was so funny that again, they're models, right? And so this is like an epic treat for them. It better be because like you said, it's very rich. Now, one thing that I was looking for this weekend, because I was trying to create this, we didn't make this drink together. One of the things I was looking for and I could not find, but I think would be really great if you didn't want to do the chocolate chips, but you still wanted it to be very orangey, is they have that chocolate orange, right? That
oh,
you can get at like World Market. It's really big in like the UK and Europe. I don't know why Americans just don't like orange and chocolate as much. I don't get it. But if you were to chop one of those up instead of the half a cup of chocolate chips, that would probably bring out the orange a lot. The only reason I know
mm-hmm.
that, not the only reason, but my dad was a huge fan of the Mocha Valencia, which was a hot drink that Starbucks used to make. They don't really anymore. You can still order it, I suppose, but it's not on their menu anymore. And when he got a chocolate orange, he was like, it's basically a hardened versions of a Mocha Valencia. So give that a shot if you see it and have it. So I bet
Yeah,
that'd
for
be good.
sure. Absolutely. So, yeah, go ahead and mix one of those up. Let us know how you decide to take your orange mocha frappuccinos, and let us know that. So now that we've went through how to make that, let's go blend up another one of these and take a quick break so we can come back and chat about this week's film, Zoolander.
His name is Zoolander. Derek Zoolander. International male supermodel.
Spoiler warning for Zoolander. If you've not seen this film, congratulations. I'm sorry. You're missing out. You really are missing out on something that's kind of epic. It's like well, we're going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about all the things in Zoolander. And I don't know exactly how we're going to talk all about this film, because a lot happens and not really a lot happens at the same time. So this is going to be a challenge, at least for Michaela, and Ryan's probably going to be great. But we're going to talk about Zoolander, and we're going to talk about all the things, including how it ends and a bunch of one-liners. And if you've not seen it and you don't understand it, please press pause now. Go make yourself an orange mocha frappuccino with a Kahlua and triple sec or not, and come back and we can chat about all things Zoolander for really, really good-looking people.
That's right, and it won't take you very long to get through. It's only about 90 minutes long, but you've had plenty of time to see it. It was released in 2001. It was directed and stars Ben Stiller as male model Derek Zoolander. But what about male models? Owen Wilson is male model Hansel. Christine Taylor, who is Ben Stiller's wife, plays investigatory journalist Matilda Jeffries, and Will Ferrell is the only fashion designer we've never worked for, Mugatu. Plus, any celebrity that was active in 2001 is also in this movie in some fashion or another in a cameo. So, Michaela, this movie, it comes to us, it was based off of a couple of short films that were made for the 1996 and 1997 VH1 Fashion Awards, which is how we get the movie started off, right? It does a really good job. It just it dumps you in here. It does a really kind of neat thing by dropping you right into this Fashion Awards thing. So you basically just get kind of these little B-reels about our characters that we're going to be following. You got Matilda Jeffries there. She's doing an interview of potential four-time winner of Male Model of the Year, Derek Zoolander, there. And we're introduced to him and to his story. And then we're also introduced to the new rival, Hansel. Hansel's so hot right now.
He's so hot right now. He's so hot right now. But before we get into that, we have this really dark, first 2 minutes of it looks like we're in a spy movie of some sort, and we sort of are, I guess, sure. Where it kind of tells us the story of the truth that, Fashion Week is great and height of fashion is awesome, but usually those things are happening on the backs of poor children who are making all of this really crazy haute couture stuff, right? And so all of these designers are shaking their fists and they're like, we got to do something about the prime minister of Malaysia, who is cracking down on child labor laws, saying, kids don't need to be working 15, 20 hours a day. And that will ruin them. And so they've got this guy who's all in the dark, played by Will Ferrell. You don't know who he is quite yet. And he's like, what will we do? And they're like, well, we need an agent. We need something. And it's like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do it. And then we cut into this, it's like watching the opening of an awards ceremony, right? It's very much like all these people being interviewed, and we get this cut of Hansel versus Zoolander. And Hansel is played by the amazing Owen Wilson. He is everything. He's the complete opposite of Ben Stiller's character in look. He's long and lean. He's got very he starts with all right, which means I guess he's supposed to be the Matthew McConaughey version of what made male models in 2001, versus Ben Stiller, who's very angular. Yeah. He's known for this one face that he does that is
Come on
the
now.
same.
He's known for a lot of faces, right?
But they're all the same.
Blue Steel, Le Tigre, they're all the same face, as we learn later on. There is one face that's not to be perfected yet, but luckily we're going to get to that by the end of the story. And it starts out at the VH1 fashion show, as we mentioned, and it's basically just going through a red carpet sort of a thing. And like I said, every celebrity that was active in 2001 is going to be here making some sort of cameo in this. And you go up, and of course they're getting to the awards there. You got Fabio, he's winning the Slashy Award for Best Actor / Model, and not the other way around. And then it comes up to Best Male Model of the Year. I really like then, because it kind of goes through little Hansel's little story. So we learn all about Hansel, and then it goes through Derek Zoolander's little things. We learned all about Derek Zoolander's career, and then they announce Hansel wins, of course, but Derek Zoolander, being the male model type that he is, of course, doesn't even pay attention to the fact that his name is not called, and walks up onto stage where his friend Lenny Kravitz has to give him the bad news that he did in fact not win the award, and he has to walk out of there with his head hanging low, to go home and try to sleep off this bad night.
Yeah, and when what I found interesting about this whole thing is number one, Lenny Kravitz looks exactly the same. All the more reason I'm
True.
pretty sure he's a vampire. Number two, he goes home to like this boys' home. He's part of the uh, malls models. Uh,
Balls models. Come on.
balls models. Sorry. Maury Ballstein, played by Jerry Stiller. He has like this. He's in this room with all of his friends, and they're trying to like cheer him up and talk to him. And they decide to go out for a drive, listen to some '80s music, and get some gas and stop at Starbucks. That's a good idea until it's not. But it's so funny. Like,
Yeah, you're hanging out with your friends. You're having a bad time, right? And they're trying to cheer you up. You got Mikas and you've got Rufus there. Alexander Skarsgård, is playing Mikas. And they're telling him, don't hang your head, right? So we'll get over this. I like they're all like standing around fighting. The one guy's like just sitting there doing like 10,000 sit-ups while they're talking because of course he is because they're male models. But the only thing that's going to cheer you up right now is an orange mocha frappuccino. So that's what you go and do. The jitterbug starts playing, and they're just there riding through town, having a good time, drinking their orange mocha frappuccinos until you have to stop for gas, and then spontaneous gasoline fight accidents are bound to happen when you put four very 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 good looking people into one Jeep.
I'm gonna say this. So I don't know when you watched this the first time. I totally avoided this movie for probably 10 years because it was not my kind of humor. And it but this scene, I cackled when I saw this. Because like they're dancing around to Jitterbug, right? And they're spraying each other with like the water. Because this is back in the day where there was water. If you went to a gas station and you needed to like wipe your windows, they had things for you to do that. But then they start spraying each other with gasoline, and then one of them lights a match, and they just all go up in flames. And so the next scene, they're at the funeral, and poor Derek Zoolander, he's so sad.
He is sad. That's right. He is a good you Googleizer, though. Of course, he's
You
there
Googleizer.
talking, speaking there about his friends that have passed away in this freak gasoline fight accident. And then is that point where he decides to make the announcement that he's going to be retiring from male
Yep.
modeling, right? Much to Maury Ballstein's dismay there, who is his mentor and agent. There, of course, I do like then kind of at the funeral, Hansel is making an appearance. So of course there's like a DJ that starts playing because
Right.
of course there is. And my favorite part about this, and I don't even know if you knew this or not, but the DJ is played by none other than Justin Theroux.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, it's awesome. I love it. Well, and he continues to get kind of hounded by Matilda Jeffries, right? She's like, "Look, I really want to interview you," and he's like, "Nah." And he's like, "I have an after funeral party to go to," and it was just like, "Sorry, these three guys are dead, but and they were my best friends." But Maury Ballstein is really running in kind of some back alley. He's doing some back alley deals with Mugatu. Am I saying it right? Who is the flat haired guy played by Will Ferrell that we see at the beginning of the film. And so Mugatu is telling Maury Ballstein, "Hey, you need to bring Derek out of retirement. Zoolander can't retire yet. He needs to do this one last gig. It's Fashion Week. We need him to be there. We're gonna, as like an act of goodwill, we're gonna invite the Prime Minister of Malaysia, who will absolutely show up, even though he wears a sheet for a living. Like that's what he does. But he'll come to Fashion Week and see all the crazy stuff, of course. And so they're trying to figure out a way to condition Derek to attempt this assassination to the song "Relax" by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I mean, I just gotta say one thing, Brian.
Yeah.
When the idea people were making this movie up, I wonder how many other ideas came that they were like, nah,
No, it's not that one. They
that's too far
brainstormed.
fetched.
They
Like, I
they
wonder.
brainstormed all the things. Yeah.
I mean, holy moly! Like, no, if we said that, like, I'm saying this out loud to you, and it makes no sense, but somehow it brilliantly comes together in this film,
Yeah, for
like
sure.
brilliantly.
I like after the funeral, right? He retires and then he decides to go back to his roots, right? So he goes to I think it's like downstate New Jersey to the coal mines, right? He goes to there because that's his family's career, right? He goes down in the mines
Sure.
with his dad and brothers. So you know if his dad is
Oh, Vince Vaughn is his brother, and he's got
Vince Vaughn is his brother. John
John
Voight
Voight
is
is
his
his
dad.
dad.
Judah Friedlander, I guess, is his other brother there. And I love it. They go and it's like a music video, like montage, like of him in the mines. And then of course he like comes out and he's cleaning off his face with 10,000 cotton balls. He tells his pop he's, you know, getting a bit of the black lung. And then one of his commercials comes on. His father says that he's been dead to him ever since he betrayed the family by not being a coal miner and going to be a male model. So he's going to go back to the city. And that's kind of when this, you know, this plan gets put into place. That Derek Zoolander, he is just an innocent simpleton, but maybe he can be brainwashed. To you know to assassinate the prime minister there, and that's when we're going to get the relaxed bit. I like we've got Katinka, who's like the I don't know, she's like the muscle, I guess, for Mugatu. She's played by Mila Jovovich there, who kind of puts him into this day spa sort of thing where he's going to be brainwashed and, you know, kicks Matilda out of there. You know, no investigatory journalism there. But she gets to the bottom of things because she gets a tip from a hand model. Probably my favorite guy in the whole movie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I had no idea who it was when you first like she gets a phone call and it's you see this guy's hand like in a bubble and you're like,
Yeah,
who I know this voice. I know this voice. And you do know this voice because you've been listening to it for like 9 to 11 seasons of X-Files, and it's none other than David Duchovny playing JP Pruitt, who is like, I used to be a hand model. You need to understand who Mugatu actually is, and you're all part of this. It's this conspiracy. He actually like none of the models who work for Mugatu make it past the age of 30. They all die in a really strange way. And so I love they meet up at the cemetery, and it's like all like cloak and dagger stuff, and then poor JP Pruitt's hand bubble gets cracked and he's like, oh my god, because it looks so young. It's like the hand from the Doctor Who, like
oh yeah,
season 1, right, where his hand is like in a bubble, with that fluid around it. It looks really really like young, and even though David Duchovny's character looks like really old and scrappy, his hand is like super pristine until it's exposed to air. And
that's
then he's
right.
like,
Yeah.
what have you done? Ah!
You freaking idiot. Yeah, he has a hyperbaric chamber there made for his hand. So, you know, even though we grow old, his hand is going to stay fine in that. I really I really love that. And it's also impressive to think that David Duchovny did this weird part in this weird strange movie at the same time like the final season at least then of X-Files was going on in 2001
Right,
when that so
right.
he was like you know so he was like all powerful David Duchovny and he does like this weird like bit part in this thing so that's pretty good so now they know right they know that this plan has been induced within Derek Zoolander to you know to be triggered to you know he's brainwashed to assassinate the prime minister. So what do you got to do? You got to go hide out. You can't get Katinka on your tail. She's that seems like bad news. You don't want her running around finding you. So where do you go? Where are they not going to think to look at you? That is, of course, your arch nemesis house, Hansel. So that is where they go. They show up and, you know, they let bygones be bygones, right? And it turns out, you know, Derek Zoolander, he was just, you know, he was intimidated by the fact that there was this new up and comer model. You know, he'd been doing it for a long time, and you know, Hansel's like, man, I was intimidated too. You're like the legend. You know, you're like still like cast in the shadow. I could never hope to get out of. But they're going to go. We learn more about Hansel's wacky world adventures and world views, and it turns out some sparks are starting to fly between Matilda and Derek Zoolander.
Ah, well, maybe all of them. I don't know. They break into
Sparks
Hansel's
flying
collection of,
everywhere,
yeah,
everywhere.
there's a lot of narcotics flying, I think is what's happening. So they all kind of spend the night together. I find that really funny. because it's just weird the way they show it. Like they film it with like a fake, like there's a lot of air flying and like as it
Hmm.
pans across from person to person as to like what could be happening. I don't know. It's very like it reminded me of like at the beginning when they do the model, like the model kind of rundowns of who's who. This reminded me of like 1990s music videos, right, where someone is
Yep.
singing and there's wind against their hair and they're like, ah, it's very much that. But now they're in it together. There definitely is something going on. Like even Hansel's like, yeah, Derek, I mean, it was obvious that Matilda was more into you than any of the others, including the
There, that's right. Yeah,
little people that
at
were
this
involved.
at this one point, they locked eyes. Yeah, for sure.
For
Absolutely.
sure.
We omitted a very key part of this in their
Oh,
feud before is when they have their walk off, of course, right? They run into each other at this after party. I think it was the after party from the funeral, right? They run into each other. There's Matilda is getting chased, and they have some words, pointed words there, and they decide to have a walk off, which is what you do, I guess, if you're male models and you want to settle something. No pistols or no slapping gloves to the face here. You just do a little runway walk there, and they're going to go through and do their routines. This is important to know because David Bowie is, of course, the MC of this walk off there for sure, which is amazing there
yeah.
to see David Bowie do that. So that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun. But now, fences have been mended. They've spent this time together, and they've come up with the plan. They find out that all of the files, all of the communications there for Ballstein is going to be on his computer at his office, which is good. So they're going to break in and have to get those files, right? And where are the files, Michaela? They're inside the computer.
They're inside the
Um,
computer. They're inside the computer, and we got to talk about this computer though. Because I mean, you're not. I mean, you're much more of a tech person than me. But this was the 2001 Apple or something where they were all colored. You could get your own
yeah,
color where you
it
could
was like
kind of
it
see
was like the
inside
first
it.
iMac, I think,
Yeah,
is what they
it
were.
was
Yeah, yeah.
it was an iMac that was the size of my car, but it was so cool. And they had like an orange one and a blue one. You could get a purple one. You could get a pink one. I was super excited about this. Of course, I couldn't afford one, but I remember
Mm-hmm.
seeing them a lot in the early 2000s. And that's where these files are. And so Hansel, also not very smart. I'm just saying, neither one of these gentlemen are the brightest bulb on the old Christmas
You
tree.
can't have it all.
They you can't, yeah, I guess they're ridiculously good looking, but they're not very smart. So Hansel decides he's gonna steal the computer because he can't figure out how to turn it on or how to get inside it and get the files. Um, yeah, so he decides to leave Derek. Derek goes to the runway. He is got to still kind of make good. He is about to go on stage or on down the runway and do his thing. Mugatu's DJ starts to play his version of Relax. I love the
Mm-hmm.
backstory of Mugatu and how they find out who he is, right? Matilda and her
Yeah, it's like her coworker at
yeah,
the news thing. I can't think of his name right now, but yeah, he tracks down kind of all of the information on him. I like he keeps trying to like hit on Matilda like throughout the whole thing. She's like, not now.
nope, not now, Jimmy, whatever whatever his name is. But apparently Mugatu was like helpful in creating the song Relax, which is why he uses it every time as the trigger. And that's the thing that Derek Zoolander is going to hear, and then he's going to be triggered to ignore everybody else, ignore all the other celebrities, and just take a running start and just clobber the poor prime minister of Malaysia, and then like rip his head off, which is what he'd been trained to do, right, with
Hmm.
Katinka in that warehouse looking torture chamber place. Um,
And his day spa, his very exclusive day spa.
Very
Yeah,
exclusive.
absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, Derek has never missed a show time, right? So he's there. He's quick to go. I really like that. He gives his little super tiny cell phone, which is funny to think of. That's what used to be like what we would have considered to be like the peak of technology was to have like a just a super little tiny flip phone. So he has that, and he gives it. to Hansel there as he goes to his show. He is the face of the derelict campaign after all, so he has to be there on time. So they go. They're at kind of this final confrontation. Now you got Hansel. He's got the computer. There, of course, still doesn't know how to get to these files. Turns out that they are inside of the computers. That's going to come back to bite him. But we're having a little bit of a head there as Hansel and the DJ get into some sort of like breakdance fight, which is bad. Matilda is there. She slugs Katinka. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And truth comes to bear as Maury Ballstein says that he has all of those files backed up on a zip disk, which is something we don't have anymore now. Think of it as like the cloud, except for small out there, little kids. So that is that, right? The all of the collusion and the scheming has been exposed. Mugatu is ruins, and the day has been saved. Now, the prime minister even says, thank you very much, Derek Zoolander, which is pretty great. And then Derek can receive his ultimate prize, of course, which is the Derek Zoolander Center for kids who can't read good and want to learn how to do other things good too. Which is maybe my favorite scene in the movie. When Mugatu is trying to like lure him into this plan, and he shows him the little like scale model of it, and he asks, it's going to have to be 3 times this size to have kids get in there.
Any kids in there at all?
Any kids in there? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really good. I mean, all's well that ends well. Derek and Matilda are together. They have a son. Of course, they have a son, Derek Zoolander Jr., who already has developed that look. Oh, we get to see Magnum. Magnum is that look that he's been working on to perfect for years, and it looks just like all the others.
Stops a throwing star in its tracks. Even Mugatu is like, oh, that's beautiful.
Right. It's like, oh, it's so good. Hansel's so hot right now. Yeah, I love it because Hansel and Derek are still besties. Hansel's like taking the kids spelunking or something. Like he's like, yeah, it's fine. We're just gonna go climb off this building. Everybody grab your
grab your chutes. They're going base
grab
jumping.
Grab your chutes. Let's go. It'll be fine.
Ballstein is doing like business classes right there, and Derek and Matilda go to read for story time for the kids. Yeah, and that's how it ends. There is a sequel to Zoolander you can watch if you want to. I never have. Came out in 2016, and I guess there was like an animated show in the UK on Netflix, so you can check that out here just a couple years back. I'm not familiar with that really too much at all, but that is Zoolander. Michaela, you mentioned you didn't watch this for like a good 10 years because it wasn't your sense of humor, which meant that you didn't watch a lot of movies in the 2000s because this was really kind of right in there, right? You had Ben Stiller, I guess just the year before this, did Meet the Parents, and then just like all this stuff came out, right? So you had Zoolander, you had Dodgeball, you had Anchorman, you had like Blades of Glory, you had like all these movies that were just like these like stupid yet somehow like really really clever like comedies to them, but definitely hinged on like this stupidity level for sure. And that's what this was, and it kind of kicked off like that craze of things, and I guess kind of that ran up through to like Old School, I guess, was maybe kind of like the capstone of those films.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think that certain people like some people like Ben Stiller comedies. There's another one like that, like Happy Gilmore. Oh my gosh, what is his name?
What's your Adam Sandler?
Yeah. So like people like Adam Sandler comedies, people like Ben Stiller comedies. I was never a fan of either one of them. I would watch them, but I just, I think it was just, I was lost on it. I don't know why, because it was just such a wacky, like so far fetched and not unbelievable, but that's part of the fun about it, right? Like there's something about Mary. There's just something so ridiculous about this stuff that you just have to let it go enough to enjoy the ride. And I don't know what was wrong with me in the early 2000s. I mean, I think I do. I was probably going through college trying to figure out how to pay for everything and not and graduate with a job. And maybe that was a problem. But like, I didn't really listen or watch this until probably 2010.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, this is actually, there are some funny moments, but I'll tell you, I'll be 100% honest with you. I put this on the list I watched it this weekend. I cackled. Like I almost peed my pants. I laughed so hard, like at least 3 times. It's so it truly it's so funny. But in its nonsensicalness. It's great.
Mhm. Yeah, and of those movies, kind of in that same vein, like of like this like stupidly uh like intelligent sort of things. A lot of them were meant to be, highly satirical, and I think that this one does a really good job of kind of capturing that because it's basically making fun of all of the things that, people who are not ridiculously good looking like think
What are you
about
trying to say there, Brian?
that audience. I'm speaking on, behalf of me, present company on the other side of this Zoom call, not included for sure. Um
Okay.
but yeah, I think it does like a really good job of that. And yeah, for sure, it's dated and all of those things. But I, not like you, watched this, pretty early on. I don't know if I watched it in 2001, but I saw it, fairly early on. I think that it is really, really insanely dumb and also really, really funny at the same time. It's short, so I've seen it a bunch of times. I hadn't watched it recently, probably for at least a couple of years. But yeah, this one's really good, and we would have been, I don't know, like 20 years old, I think, at the time that this came out. So definitely, kind of reminds me of like those college days, for sure. So that is Zoolander. Hopefully we did it justice out there. We didn't get all of whatever your favorite Zoolander line is. We for sure missed it because there's so many of them,
Totally missed it.
for sure. So let us know what your favorite Zoolander line is down there. What you think about these 2000s comedies as we get ready to turn our attention to the Oscars here. A little bit of a palate cleanser before we get into all of that stuff. So let us know at home if you mix up an orange mocha frappuccino with alcohol or otherwise. We want to know that. We want to see pictures of yours, and we want to know if you use any other ingredients instead of the orange. Let us know that, and let us know what you think about Zoolander. You can do that on our social medias. It's at Drink the Movies on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Facebook.com/Drink the Movies. If you want to see pictures of our orange mocha frappuccino, you can do that on our website. It's www.drinkthemovies.com. You can go there. It has links to the shop. It has links to the Patreon, which is where we have all of our bonus content. It has links to the Drink the Video Games YouTube channel. All that stuff is on there, so you can go check that out on the website. And you want to make sure that you are following along as we get into Oscars. We're going to be doing some of those films as well as some, previous Oscar winners, contenders, things like that. And we'll be getting our Oscar prize pack kicked off here pretty soon because the Oscar noms are going to be coming out very shortly. So you're going to want to make sure you're following the podcast. Michaela, where can they do that?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, anywhere where Spotify podcasts are supported and distributed. On your rectangle right now, I guarantee there's a button that says subscribe. You're going to want to subscribe because we got a lot of good stuff coming up. Gosh, it's like our 4th Oscar season together. 5th. It's our 5th Oscar season together. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so we do 2 drops a week. We do our lobby bars at the beginning of the week, and then our deep dives like the one you were listening to right now. We love what we do, and we can't do it without you. So thank you so much for spreading the love. You can share all of your stuff on social media. You can like us, you can give us 5-star reviews. All of that stuff really helps keep all the Drink the Movies stuff out there.
Absolutely. So with that, I think we better sign off here for Zoolander. We have a class to take at Derek Zoolander's Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good. We're going to be late for class if we don't go now. So, Michaela, that's going to wrap it up for this one. We'll talk to everyone next time on
Drink
the
the movies. Derek, that was unbelievable. I know, I turned left. Yeah, but you also saved the Prime Minister of Malaysia. Oh, right. Cool.
Not an ampy turner. Hansel, more like Gretel.